understand by biomass? Yes, Sharon, you can just repeat your answer.
I don't think that was correct.
You were correct. Biomass is the stored in energy of an organism. It is the body weight. Be it the plant or animal, biomass is the body weight. So it is the stored energy at each trophic level. So if you consider the plant material, the stem, the leaves, so it comes under the category of biomass. Now, when we are using biomass as a source of energy, we particularly depend on plant materials more. Why is it so? Because plant materials have cellulose in them. So you can just think of cellulose as fiber. Now you also see that animal waste is also used as a biomass source. You understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Why animal waste is used as a fuel, biomass fuel? So when the ruminating animals, they eat upon plants, so some of the cellulose, it gets undigested and it is excreted in the form of waste. So you have cow dung cakes. So you make fuel out of cow dung, and this is nothing but undigested fiber in the cow dung, which is giving it an ability to be used as an energy producing substance or a fuel source. So biomass is the plant material, and also it is the undigested fiber in the animal waste which is being used as a fuel. How this is utilized in generating electricity? Simply by burning. You are just burning either animal waste, and perfect example of it is the cow dung cakes, and you are also burning the plant material, the stems, the leaves, all the litter which you get from the plant. You just simply burn them, and wood is also a perfect source of biomass energy. Now, why it is an indirect solar energy? Who can answer this? Why it is an indirect solar energy resource?
I think because of dryness, the sun's heat dries these material and then they are able to burn them and generate energy.
Not exactly. You have to directly pinpoint photosynthesis here.
Yes, ma'am,
Yes.
because plants utilize solar energy and then the cows eat those
Exactly.
plants and then the cow dung is produced.
Exactly. So the producers, they actually use sun's energy in presence of water and carbon dioxide. They produce food due to it. They produce glucose. So the entire plant body is made up of the energy which is coming from photosynthesis. So indirectly, it is sun's energy only. That is why biomass is considered as an indirect source of solar energy, because everything is dependent upon photosynthesis, and photosynthesis is only possible when we have sunlight. Sunlight नहीं होगी तो photosynthesis नहीं होगा. So it is due to photosynthesis only that energy is stored in the form of biomass in the green plants. Then when other consumers feed upon these green plants, they again in turn capture that energy of the sun at their respective trophic levels. Biomass, is one of the oldest fuels known to humans. जब कुछ भी civilization नहीं था, हमारे पास कोल माइन करने के रिसोर्सेज नहीं थे, then it was the quickest source of energy. I hope you all know this, so and you can also think it logically. Since it was very freely available, this is one of the oldest fuels known to humans, and this is also another reason that most of our forests, they are facing this loss of tree cover because we use wood as a fuel source, which is nothing but a biomass energy resource. So apart from wood, we also have fast growing plants, algal crops, and then crop wastes are also used as a biomass resource. Then we have sawdust, we have wood chips, we have uh, all things like these plant litter, and everything, it comes under the biomass resource. So now can you tell me, is it a renewable resource of energy or non-renewable? Biomass.
It can be considered as renewable, but can become non-renewable if the
Very
rate
good.
of consumption is
That's
higher,
a very good
then
answer.
it's renewable.
It's a good answer. Good. So biomass is a renewable form of energy when used no faster than it is produced. So you have to maintain a balance between its use and its replenishment. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So if we are overusing biomass, then obviously we are moving towards deforestation and desertification. Now, biomass is a promising source of energy, but still it cannot replace the fossil fuels. It is not possible to use biomass at such large a scale that it can be used in place of fossil fuels, because otherwise then we will have a loss of biodiversity. Now coming to the types of biomass fuels. We have broadly three categories of biomass fuels. So we have solid, we have liquid, and we have a gaseous form also. All these three are being burned. So the main process of getting the energy is combustion only. So it is burned and then it releases energy. So solid biomass is the wood form, or maybe what you are getting as crop waste, wood chips, sawdust, everything is the solid form of biomass. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
And animal dung is also a part of solid biomass fuel. And likewise, we also have peat. So it is a primitive plant, lower plant, which is a fern, and it grows in marshy areas. So this is also an excellent source of biomass fuel. So it is partly decayed and it is found in the marshy areas, and it is another excellent source of biomass fuel. So in solid biomass fuels, you have the firewood, you have the charcoal, you have animal dung, and you have peat. These are major biomass of the solid category. And we all know that at least half of the human population, it relies on biomass as their main source of energy, and this has been going on since time immemorial, and majorly in the developing countries. तो वहाँ पे wood ही primary fuel source होता है. And apart from cooking, this solid biomass can also be used as residue for paper mills and residues from paper mills, and agricultural industries are also burned as biomass to generate electricity. Clear?
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
coming to the gaseous form of the biomass. So can you just guess what could it be, or can you just, if you are uh, well aware of it, the gaseous form of biomass, and how do we produce it?
That
Yeah.
biogas plant
Yes. So you take up all the biomass, you take up the material,
and make slurry out
these,
of it.
yeah, and What
And
is the
then
major processing occurring in this case?
I think
You are
anaerobic
causing a
respiration.
There is a bacterial
decomposition.
decomposition of the cow dung, so it
Yes.
releases methane and other gases.
So not only cow dung, but you can take the litter, the plant litter, you can take the kitchen waste, you can take the
Scraps and
peels
all.
of fruits and everything, and you can always put it into a biogas digester, and there the bacteria will decompose. Now, when bacterial decomposition occurs, the gas is released, and this gas is known as biogas. This is a very good gas for cooking and lighting purposes. So now you can see dual advantages of the biomass. It can be used as a solid fuel, or we can derive the gas out of it. And in addition to that, whatever is remaining after the production of biogas, whatever solid material remains, that is the decomposed material, it would also be used as a fertilizer, because it would be decomposed, so it will have rich nutrient matter, and we can readily put them in the soil, and it will work as a biomanure or a natural fertilizer. So in a way, you can prevent the pollution of agricultural land by using this natural fertilizer. So that is another advantage of biomass. If you are deriving biogas out of it, then the leftover you can use it as a manure. Now coming to the third category, third one is the biofuel. So what do you understand by biofuel? इससे पहले biofuels कभी आपने पढ़ा है?
Yes, ma'am. I've heard of a plant which is grown in South India, which is used to as an alternative for petroleum.
Are you talking about eucalyptus?
No, ma'am, it's not eucalyptus. I'm just not able to remember the name.
Okay. So yes, you are correct that some plants, when they are exposed to high temperature and pressure, they produce oil. So they produce an oil-like substance, and these oils are rich in hydrocarbons. And you can easily use these oils as फ्यूल. सो ऐसे बायोडीजल, बायोमिथेनॉल, बायोइथेनॉल बहुत प्रोड्यूस होता है इन पेट्रोक्रॉप से. तो दीज प्लांट्स आर नोन एज द petrocrops, and you have oil palms, you have euphorbia, so all these are being used as petrocrops. There is also another plant which is known as jatropha. A lot of biodiesel is being extracted from that plant. It is a very
Yes, ma'am.
very good source of, it is a very good source of biodiesel. And likewise, you also have jojoba. So it is a oil rich plant, and we can always harvest fuel from that. And since the production of biodiesel or biofuel is environmental friendly, so we can suggest, and it would be good that it is being used as an alternative fuel to diesel or any other petroleum form. It will reduce the burden on the conventional resources of energy. And another advantage is that biodiesel burns much cleaner than diesel. You understand the concept behind biofuels?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, what are the challenges when we are using biofuels? What all things we need to keep in mind? What do you think are the major challenges here? Now we have seen that biomass can be used in solid form, it can be used in liquid form, and it can be used in a gaseous form. And if we are using it, then it is advantageous also because it is burning very clean. It is not putting ecosystems at pressure by polluting the environment that much as compared to the conventional resources. But then there still are some challenges for using biomass as fuel. And what could be those challenges? What do you think would be those challenges?
Ma'am, it's a comparatively slow process of generating the biofuel.
Okay, we can take this as a disadvantage. You can say that growing those crops due according to their cycle, like if it is an annual plant or maybe it is perennial. So according to that, it will take time to grow, you are saying, and that is the time lag, right?
Yes, ma'am. That also, and again, ma'am, the production of biogas, the whole decomposition process will take a long time. Ma'am, for petrol example, we can go to the petrol pump and get petrol, but for generating biogas, we have to first collect and then start decomposing it. It will take ma'am lot longer time than normal fuel.
Yeah, so it will take some time. That is a challenge, yes. And what else?
Requires a lot of heat and pressure to convert that biomass into biogas and biofuels.
Okay. And what about the major challenge if we are utilizing the biomass?
Also, it can be large areas are required and for converting them.
So if you are taking up the waste material, then it is fine. You can utilize it as a biomass. Even waste material में भी आपको ये ध्यान रखना है कि वो waste material soil ही बनता है. So in a way you are taking up a part of replenishment of soil. So that you have to keep in mind. मतलब इतना नहीं लेना है वो वेस्ट मटेरियल कि उस मतलब सॉइल ही रिप्लेनिश ना हो पाए. सो सॉइल डज नॉट लूज इट्स nutrients. Now when you will entirely depend on biomass energy, then what will happen? There will be loss of tree cover, there will be loss of plant biodiversity, and if the plant biodiversity is lost, then the entire balance of the ecosystem is lost. You will have soil erosion because there will be no plants to bind the soil. So in a way, the entire ecosystem is getting affected when we are using biomass as a fuel at a very higher rate. And another point I would like to add here is that biomass is also a carbon sink. It is storing carbon. So what we are doing when we are using biomass, when we are simply burning it, again we are releasing that stored carbon in the environment. So that is a major challenge when we use the biomass as fuel.
Ma'am, again, there is also the geographical disadvantage because not every region has equal amount of ma'am, organic compounds present. For example, in arid regions, there is not enough ma'am biomass available so that you can utilize it.
Yes. Yeah, surely. मतलब everything, the distribution is uneven everywhere. आप कोई भी resource देख लो, वो country में या फिर over the world, it is not distributed evenly. So now coming to the advantages of biomass. So can you all sum up? What are the advantages of biomass? What would be the first advantage?
वो सस्ता होता है मैम.
So it produces a good amount of energy and it can reduce our dependence on the fossil fuel. And if you compare it with other renewable resources of energy, then biomass is very easy to use. You just have to take the material and burn it. So it is a most easiest renewable resource of energy to harvest. So that is why it is a good alternative energy resource option, and it can reduce our dependence on fossil fuels. And if we come to pollution, then pollution is obviously lesser than the fossil fuels, but you cannot say that it is completely absent. So it is, you are burning a substance, so it will produce pollution, that is for sure. But as compared to the fossil fuels, the pollution is much less. So there are low level of sulfur and low level of ash which is produced as compared to the fossil fuels, for example, coal. And we can balance this CO2 which is produced by burning biomass by planting more trees. So you can always balance it. So supposedly if you are taking a biomass from a place, you can plant more trees, or you can say you can plant double to triple of that area, and you can balance this CO2 release. Clear? And disadvantages are that obviously if we are using biomass, then it will affect the soil resources, then it will put a pressure on the land resources, and it will put up pressure on farmlands which are specifically used for agriculture, and we are already facing a lot of food security issues. Then it will add to those. And also using biomass can also disrupt the balance in the ecosystem, as we are using the carbon sink. So that carbon sink will directly come to the atmosphere. So basically we have to plant more and use less. Then only biomass would be a very, very efficient source of alternate energy. Clear?
Yes,
Now
ma'am.
coming to the soil part, how biomass is disrupting the soil, how the use of biomass is putting a pressure on soil resources also. So what happens is that when, so we have you seen the process of soil formation? It was in the previous unit, वो आप सबने पढ़ा है. You identify with humus and the topsoil layer. You know what is it composed of? You know the soil profile, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So if you can see, the topsoil layer is made composed of litter from plants and animals.
Yes, ma'am.
So if this litter we will use as biomass resources, then we will not be able to replenish our topsoil, and in a way we are degrading the soil quality.
Soil.
So natural soil formation process we are disrupting if we are over exploiting the biomass resources. Okay, so this was with the biomass energy. Now coming to another source of renewable uh, energy, that is the wind energy. So how is wind used as a source of energy? The high speed moving winds, due due to their motion, they possess a lot of energy in them. So this is a form of kinetic energy. So the wind, the moving air, it possesses a lot of energy. And what is the main driving force behind this flowing of wind?
Solar warming of air.
Solar.
Yes. So sun is the main driving force for the wind, and these high speed moving winds, so they have a lot of energy due to the motion of the air molecules. And how can we make use of this wind energy? The wind energy can be captured by using windmills.
Windmills.
Yes. So the force of the striking wind is actually the main force that helps the blades of the windmill to rotate continuously. And then these revolving blades, then they rotate the turbine and electricity is produced. If we talk about the last 10 years, Then wind energy capacity has increased from 20% to 45%, and we can say that it is the world's fastest growing source of energy. So this is again an advantage. So we can use more and more wind energy, and we can produce more electricity through it. And one more thing here to keep in mind is that wind is again sporadic over Earth. So it varies a lot from place to place, and from direction and magnitude. So there is again a variation in the distribution of wind resource. So in a way it is similar to sun's energy. So it is again a very highly dispersed form of energy. So we have to make a lot of efforts to harness this form of energy also. And we already know how we harvest wind energy. You have these wind farms wherein a lot of windmills are put, and the force of the wind, it just uh, rotates the blade, and then we can generate electricity out of it. So we have special areas where we set up our wind farms, and these areas receive a lot of wind almost all throughout the year. So these areas are majorly the islands, the coastal areas, the mountain passes, and the grasslands. So majorly open areas where there is minimal construction, so that there is no obstruction to the flowing wind. So that can easily be utilized to form the wind farms. So you have to have a certain speed of the wind with which you can rotate this blade. And it is said that the minimum wind speed which is able to rotate this blade is 15 kilometer per hour. So utna wind speed chahiye hi chahiye if you want your windmill to work properly. So this can be a disadvantage with using wind energy. We will come to advantages and disadvantages in the next slides, but I want you to note this point. So this is the minimum speed which is required if you want to just start a windmill. So when you want to rotate the blades of these windmills. So, do you know that the largest wind farm in our country is located in Kanyakumari in Tamil Nadu? Why do you think so? It is in Kanyakumari. What could be the logical thing behind it?
Air from oceans, I guess. Turbine rotate होता
So
है
it is
तो फिर
surrounded by, yeah, exactly. So you have good gradients of moving air over there. So that is why it is located in Kanyakumari, and it is generating around 380 megawatts of electricity. And wind energy, it is a very cheap source of uh, energy resource because you just have to rotate the blade, and if you install once, then the cost is not much. So that is why it is considered as the cheapest source of energy, and also it is growing fastly. So that is why again it is a very good source of renewable energy. So coming to some advantages, if you set up a wind farm, then you can always utilize it to produce electricity, and then you can utilize this electricity for many purposes. So you can also fill in some energy gaps for domestic purposes, or also domestic purposes like threshing, winnowing, cutting wooden logs. So you can always use the energy of the windmill, and you can do this do this course. And then you can supply energy to the remote areas. So the areas where other energy resources could not be set up and you have ample amount of wind flowing over there, then it is very easily to set up the wind farm, and energy can be supplied to areas which are inaccessible. And wind farms, they can also be uh, a place of tourist attraction, so you can generate revenue also out of it. And another benefit of wind farm is, so if you have a wind farm in a field, then you can grow crops here interspersed with these windmills. So then there is a dual utilization of land. You are utilizing that land for producing energy also, and then you are utilizing that land to produce crops. So that can be done because it is very easy to set up, and so you can always utilize the land resource for dual purposes. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Now coming to the main disadvantage, so you have to just remember, अगर कोई भी natural resource या फिर renewable resource जैसे कि sun है या wind है, उसमें अगर आपको disadvantage लिखने हैं तो उसमें सबसे पहला point आप unreliability का डाल सकते हो. So since these are the dispersed forms of energy, so that can be the first point. Then second, the wind energy would be the speed. So you have to have wind speed at a rate of 15 kilometer per hour. Otherwise, the blades will not rotate, and you will not be able to rotate the wind turbine, and you will not be able to produce energy. And again, the costs of installation are obviously high. So these blades are made up of metal, so you require a lot of resources for it. So, but one time costs of installation are high, and that we have to bear. Otherwise, it is fine. And sometimes it is also seen that the turbine may interfere with the microwave communication. So that is a disadvantage, and you for installing these windmills. So that is again putting a pressure on land resources. There will be deforestation, desertification due to it, and the blades of the turbine, it can kill birds. So it can pose a threat to bird biodiversity. So that is another disadvantage. And this harvesting wind energy through windmills can also generate noise pollution. So that is the last disadvantage which I would like to discuss. Now coming to another renewable resource of energy. This is the hydroelectric energy, and I would like you all to explain me what is hydroelectric energy, because you have been studying these since your junior classes. So let us make this as a discussion.
The flow of water just helps to rotate the turbine, and that is converted into electricity.
Yes. So the flow of the moving water, the energy of the falling water, running water, it can be used to rotate the turbine, and then you are just obtaining electricity out of that. And hydroelectricity is used since ancient times in our country. बहुत पहले से यूज किया जाता है. And when you are building up hydro power plants, so the water from it can also be used for irrigation purposes. उससे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी तो प्रोड्यूस हो ही रहा है, सो यू कैन यूज दैट electricity to run various mechanical devices, and other, you can supply the power to other powerhouses also. But still the water from that hydroelectric power plant you can also use in irrigation. So that is an added advantage when you are um, looking at water as a source of energy. So hydroelectricity, it is considered to be most widely used form of energy and widely used form of renewable energy, and it accounts for nearly 16% of global electricity generation. So 16% this is contributing. Okay, so can you see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Now coming to the hydropower stations in India. So the first one was set up in West Bengal in the year 1897. So and it was a very small power station, but now large hydropower projects have been developed in India, and it is being developed by the Ministry of Power, which is under the aegis of the Government of India. And these power plants, they cater to a lot of electric demands all over the country. Then we have some small and mini hydel projects also, which provide energy to the remote and hilly areas. So you have set up small power plants over there. Since this since extension of grid of large hydropower plants is uneconomical, so you can just set up some mini projects in these hilly and inaccessible areas. Clear? And the mini plants, they have capacities between 3 megawatt and 15 megawatt. Okay. So this is a typical power plant, a hydroelectric power plant. You can see that there is a gradient in the flow of water. So why is this gradient maintained? So there is movement of water, flow of water. This movement of water will actually rotate the turbine and it will generate the electricity. Now coming to the advantages, again water is a very clean source of energy. Then if we are setting up water plants, then it is again pollution free, it is not generating much greenhouse gases. So it is a good resource of renewable energy. So to set up water plants, you have to make dams, and in a way you are also controlling the risk of flooding, because you are just storing that excess amount of water, which increases the water level of the rivers in the rainy seasons. So you can easily store it, and then you can make electricity out of it. So it is advantageous. And again, the water which is being stored in dams, they can also be used to irrigate the fields nearby. So in a way, hydroelectricity is also can also indirectly contribute to the irrigation of the fields, because the water which is stored can be utilized to irrigate the fields. Clear?
Yes.
Now coming to the disadvantage यहाँ पे हम ये नहीं बोल सकते कि like the disadvantage would be that it is very dispersed. Obviously the flow of water is depending from one place to place, but here the major disadvantage becomes the construction of the dams. So in exam, when you will be asked about disadvantages or advantages, you have to weigh the resource and then write which is the most appropriate disadvantage or advantage first, then the other disadvantages or advantages you can write. So if we talk about generating hydroelectricity through water, the major disadvantage here would be the construction of dams. So first of all, the infrastructure requires a lot of money, and to build the dams, you have to clear large expanses of land. So you are displacing people, you are displacing biodiversity, you are disrupting the habitats of many animals and plants over there. So this becomes again a threat to the ecosystem. So that is why the construction of dams is it should be avoided as much as it can be possible, because it will put a lot of pressure on the balance of the ecosystem. So that is why it is becoming the most important disadvantage here when we are discussing the water as a source of energy. Then when you are using when you are storing this huge amounts of water in dams, it can also increase the seismic activity in the area, because you are putting a lot of pressure. And again, we have discussed the points of the land resources also. So you are flooding the land, so you are increasing the risk of floods also, because when the dams will overflow, then it will always lead to flooding. So disadvantages also include problems related to local people. So you have to displace local people, and then it becomes important if we rehabilitate them. Otherwise, they will have a lot of socio-economic problems. So, and also if the land resources are at pressure due to the building of the dams, then we will lose agricultural land, and in a way the food security will be affected. So this we have already discussed what are the advantages and disadvantages of the dam. यही major disadvantages में आता है if you want to generate electricity through water resources. Now coming to another form of renewable energy. So it is the hydrogen energy. So it is just simply burning hydrogen in the air. And if you are burning hydrogen, then it will produce water as a byproduct. So the byproduct is also very clean, and energy which is released is also very high. It is around 150 kilojoules per gram. So hydrogen, it produces a lot of energy when burned. It has a high calorific value, and that is why it is a good source of fuel. And it is a clean fuel because water is generated as a byproduct.
Byproduct.
That is the major advantage here. And we can see the use of hydrogen energy in the fuel for spaceships. And also being light, it can be stored in bulk. These are the major advantages. And if we come to the disadvantages, then obviously it is very inflammable. It is highly inflammable, and it is explosive, which makes it very difficult for us to store as well as transport, and also we have to handle it very safely. Now coming to ocean energy. Oceans, since 70% of Earth's surface is occupied by water, and so they can harvest, they can collect sun's energy, the 70% surface water which is there, and we can use this ocean energy again to generate electricity. So coming to the first form of ocean energy, so it is the tidal energy. What do you understand by tides? I hope you all have read about tides.
Yes.
So it is the alternate rising and falling of the surface water of the oceans and
Level.
seas. So it generally occurs twice a day.
Pull of the moon and
Because of the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun. How will you harvest this tidal energy?
I'm using high tides. I guess the high tides, the water level rises, and then it is carried out like from high pressure to low pressure, high to low concentration, and then it is used to rotate the turbine and generate electricity.
Good. So here also the difference in the height of water is utilized. You can see this is a tidal barrage, and you can rotate the turbine when the water rises due to high tide, and you can always store this water, and then you can later on release this water and again rotate the turbine. So जब high tide नहीं बन रहा है तब you can use this stored water. This is how you harvest the energy of tides. You need to have a tidal barrage. Now coming to the tidal power estimates in India. So our potential of this energy is around 15,000 megawatt, and it is located in the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Then we have Lakshadweep Islands, coasts of Odisha and Kerala. We have tidal plants in the Gulf of Kutch also, and also in the Sundarban Delta. So these are the places where tidal energy is being harvested in our country. So these are very few in number. Wherever there is high and low tides, you can always set up these barrages over there. So you have to first of all research and identify the places where the high and low tides are efficient to produce energy or not. This we have already seen how it is harvested using the tidal barrage. So it is again a kind of dam. So it has its controlling gates. You can always store wet water when the level is high, and you can utilize this water when there is low tide and when you want to generate more electricity out of this system. Again, the process here is involving the rotation of the turbine through the movement of water due to the action of gravitational pull of the sun and the moon. Again, sun is becoming an indirect source of energy here in the system of ocean also. So one is the tidal energy, then we have ocean wave energy. So as the name suggests, this is just the energy which is occurring due to the formation of waves. Yeah, so you can harvest this kind of energy and you can always produce electricity out of it. Then you also have the ocean thermal energy. Since it is ocean thermal energy means there would be a temperature gradient. So can you imagine what temperature gradient it would be? When you see the upper surface of the ocean waters, they are warmer, and the deeper the surfaces which are on the deep or the at the ocean base, they are less in temperature. So you can utilize this temperature difference also to generate electricity, and you have special power plants for that. These are known as the ocean thermal energy conversion power plants. So you can always utilize this temperature difference, and this temperature difference should be minimum of 20 degrees Celsius. Then only you will be easily able to produce electricity. So what are the advantages of ocean energy? Again, it is a very clean source of energy, and it is not contributing to environmental pollution. It is also not generating much of greenhouse gases. So it is a very clean source of energy. And another advantage would be that there is a continuous generation of electricity when we are using the tidal energy, as these are mostly active. So you can say 24 hours a day or 365 days a year. So it is a continuous source of energy. And if you are generating energy through ocean resources, then obviously you will protect it. And so this is also helping in the protection of the shoreline. So you will not exploit this water resource. So that is another advantage. And what are the disadvantages? अगर टाइडल बैराज सिस्टम की बात करें तो वो डैम सिस्टम वाले डिसएडवांटेजेस यू कैन ऑलवेज रिपीट हेयर. सो इट इज it is actually affecting the aquatic ecosystem and the system of barrage. It can hinder a lot of aquatic organisms. So it can also kill aquatic organisms. So that is a disadvantage here. And for the production of energy, the height of the tide should be optimum. And when we are talking about the ocean thermal energy, then we need to have a temperature gradient. So that is also a disadvantage, that the production of energy is dependent upon temperature and the tides. And the cost of installation again would be high. One time installation cost would be high, because we have to set up the barrage system, and here you have to bear recurring cost also, because it is in water and it will accumulate a lot of salt, because ocean water is salty. So recurring costs are also high here. So this becomes another disadvantage. Clear? So geothermal energy
Yes.
we will discuss in the next class. I think I will stop here. You have any doubts?
No, ma'am.
No.
Okay. Okay, then thank you for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.